Welcome to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries. Book, The Obstacle is the Way, The Timeless Art of Turning Trials into Triumph by Ryan Holiday. Life is never fair. Challenges will rise, doors will close, people will doubt you. But here's the truth the greats have always known. The obstacle in your path is not your enemy, it is your way. Perception gives you the superpower to see clearly. When others panic, you spot opportunity. When fear clouds judgment, you choose calm, clarity, and courage. Action turns that vision into movement, not reckless, not waiting for perfection. Bold, relentless, persistent action that transforms barriers into stepping stones. Every failure, every delay, every setback becomes fuel for progress. And will, your inner fortress, keeps you standing when everything else shakes. It's the quiet power that endures, adapts, and conquers. It turns suffering into strength, resistance into resilience, and trials into triumphs. History's greatest leaders, thinkers, and creators didn't wait for life to be easy. They embraced the obstacle, acted with precision, and refused to break. And so can you. Because here's the ultimate truth. Your path to greatness is forged in the very obstacles you think are holding you back. The obstacle is the way. Part 1. Perception. Seeing clearly, seeing true. From the very first page, Ryan Holiday challenges everything we think we know about adversity. Most of us recoil from obstacles, seeing them as interruptions, as unfair roadblocks in the flow of our lives. But what if the obstacle itself held the key to our greatest growth? What if the very thing we fear or despise is actually the instrument of our transformation? Part 1. Perception. Begins with a principle so simple, yet so revolutionary. We choose how we perceive things. Life is chaotic, unpredictable, and often cruel. Events happen outside our control, but how we respond is entirely within our power. Holiday introduces us to the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, who lived in times far more brutal and uncertain than ours, and yet thrived, not in spite of obstacles, but because they learned to see them as opportunities. Here, perception is not passive observation. It is an active discipline. It is the sharpening of our mental lens until we see what others cannot. Holiday brings this to life with historical examples. Abraham Lincoln, who faced defeat after defeat, yet cultivated patience and perspective. John D. Rockefeller, who saw opportunity where others saw despair. Amelia Earhart, who transformed fear into calculated action in the face of danger. Each story carries the same lesson. The obstacle is neutral. It is our perception that colors it as impossible or inevitable, crippling or liberating. Holiday explains that perception involves 3 key shifts. 1. Control your emotions. Emotions are lightning, powerful, dangerous, and blinding. When an obstacle arises, anger, frustration, or fear will distort reality. To see clearly, we must train ourselves to step back, to breathe, to detach. This is not suppression, but disciplined clarity. A calm mind sees opportunity, where a flustered mind sees doom. 2. Recognize opportunity. Every obstacle carries a hidden advantage. A setback in your career may be the universe forcing you to innovate. A personal betrayal may awaken a deeper understanding of human nature. By changing the lens through which we view adversity, we convert barriers into stepping stones. 3. Practice objectivity. Holiday urges us to strip away bias, ego, and false narratives. We must ask, What is actually happening? What do I control? What can I influence? By seeing events without judgment, we see solutions and possibilities that fear and assumption obscure. Perception, as Holiday shows, is the foundation of all triumph. Without it, our energy is misdirected, our efforts wasted, and our hearts filled with unnecessary suffering. With it, we become architects of resilience, artists of opportunity, and masters of our fate. One of the most captivating elements of this first part is how Holiday weaves practical exercises into philosophy. He doesn't leave the reader in abstract thought. He urges journaling to clarify perception, mindfulness to stabilize emotion, and deliberate pauses to assess reality. He challenges us to ask, in moments of frustration or fear, what is within my control right now? How can I turn this to my advantage? These are not mere reflections. They are mental tools to train the mind to act with precision, courage, and intelligence. By the end of part 1, the reader is left with a revelation that feels both empowering and demanding. The obstacle is not something to evade or despise. It is something to see with clarity, to understand, and ultimately to harness. And this sets the stage for the next phase, action, because perception alone is powerful, but it is only the first step toward converting trials into triumphs. Holiday's prose is both crisp and evocative, carrying the energy of a mentor who whispers, sometimes sternly, sometimes warmly, that we are capable of more than we imagine, but only if we see the world as it truly is, not as our fears tell us it is. Part 2, action, moving with purpose, turning trials into triumphs. If part 1 was about perception, seeing clearly, stripping away bias, and understanding that obstacles are neither inherently good nor bad, then part 2 is about action, the deliberate, disciplined response that transforms perception into results. Because knowing the obstacle exists and seeing it clearly is not enough. Clarity is only the spark. Action is the fire. Ryan Holiday's central argument in part 2 is simple yet profound. To overcome obstacles, we must act relentlessly, creatively, and persistently. The obstacle itself becomes our training ground, the proving ground for courage, ingenuity, and perseverance. Here, Holiday introduces the Stoic concept of do what you can with what you have where you are. He dismantles the common myths of inaction, that waiting for perfect conditions is necessary, that success comes from avoiding difficulty rather than embracing it, that fear or doubt should paralyze rather than propel us. Instead, action must be iterative, persistent, and disciplined. It's not reckless aggression. It's steady, measured, intelligent motion toward a goal despite barriers. Holiday illustrates this through history's most compelling examples. Thomas Edison, whose repeated failures in inventing the light bulb were not setbacks, but experiments in progress. Each failure taught him, refined his methods, and brought him closer to success. Edison's life embodies the principle that persistence in action transforms obstacles into milestones. Ulysses S. Grant, who faced defeat after defeat in his military career, but continued to maneuver, adapt, and ultimately achieve victory. Grant's story is a testament to strategic, unwavering action fueled by resilience, not raw luck. Julia Child, who entered a culinary world dominated by men, facing rejection and ridicule, yet acted with curiosity, dedication, and courage, ultimately transforming American cooking forever. Holiday emphasizes that action is not just about brute effort. There are 3 core principles he highlights. Start small. Start immediately. Don't wait for ideal conditions. Small steps compound and motion creates clarity. Action generates momentum, and momentum generates opportunity. The obstacle itself will often reveal the next step once we take the first. Iterate and adapt. Obstacles demand flexibility. What works once may not work again. Holiday underscores that action is not linear. It is a process of trial, observation, and adjustment. Each failure is a lesson, each setback a guidepost. Inaction, by contrast, ensures stagnation. Love the obstacle itself. This may sound counterintuitive, but Holiday challenges us to embrace difficulty as our teacher. When we act with love and respect for the obstacle, when we approach it as a problem to solve rather than a punishment to endure, our energy aligns with opportunity. Courage, creativity, and persistence emerge naturally. Action in Holiday's framework is inherently pragmatic and courageous. It is the bridge between theory and results, perception and triumph. But he also warns against two dangers: impulsive action without strategy, and paralyzed analysis without movement. The sweet spot is deliberate, consistent, and bold action guided by clarity and resilience. Part 2 concludes with a vital insight. Obstacles are not merely to be endured, they are to be engaged. Each challenge we face is a call to demonstrate skill, judgment, and character. Holiday reminds us that the great figures of history, leaders, artists, innovators, did not wait for life to be easy. They acted despite the difficulty, transforming adversity into achievement. By the end of this section, the reader understands that action is the mechanism through which obstacles become opportunities. Perception shows us what to do, action shows us how to do it. Together, they form a formidable force, preparing the mind, heart, and body for the ultimate mastery, the cultivation of will. Part 3. Will, the inner power that turns obstacles into triumphs. If Part 1 taught us to see clearly, and Part 2 taught us to act decisively, then Part 3 reveals the final and perhaps most vital principle: will, the inner reservoir of strength, endurance, and resilience that allows us to persist when the world pushes back. Ryan Holiday opens this section with a crucial insight. Obstacles are often beyond our control, and while perception and action can carry us far, there comes a point where external events refuse to bend to our desires. Here, will is the differentiator. Will is not mere stubbornness. It is the cultivated inner fortitude that keeps us steady when life seems relentless. It is the quiet, enduring power that transforms hardship into triumph. Holiday draws inspiration from the Stoics, reminding us that true will is resilient, disciplined, and undaunted by circumstance. He writes, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path. Never forget, within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve our condition." Will is that force that lets us seize this opportunity even when we are bruised, tired, or doubting ourselves. Key lessons from Part 3 include: endure and survive. The world can be cruel and indifferent, but enduring hardship builds character. Holiday recounts the story of James Stockdale, a U.S. Navy pilot who survived 7 years in a Vietnamese POW camp. Stockdale's secret was not luck, intelligence, or skill alone, but an unbreakable will that refused to surrender to despair. He transformed imprisonment into a testing ground for courage, patience, and hope. 2. Love fate. Amor fati. Stoics teach us to embrace life as it is, including its difficulties. Holiday urges readers to stop fighting reality and start loving it. Even the pain, the delay, the resistance. By embracing fate, will becomes unshakable. Instead of being crushed by obstacles, we learn to bend with them, using them to strengthen our character and deepen our resolve. Persist beyond comfort. Will is about persistence when perception and action are insufficient. It is the refusal to quit, the ability to endure suffering, and the patience to let effort compound over time. Holiday points to countless examples, from Ulysses S. Grant, leading armies in the face of relentless defeat, to Thomas Edison, whose unyielding will powered him through thousands of failed experiments until the light bulb illuminated the world. Build inner resources. Will is nourished by discipline, reflection, and preparation. Holiday stresses meditation, journaling, and philosophical reflection as tools to strengthen the mind for inevitable trials. He teaches that we can cultivate an inner fortress that remains untouchable, no matter the chaos outside. Part 3 culminates in a powerful revelation. The obstacle is not merely something to navigate or overcome. It is a catalyst for inner growth. Through perception, we see clearly. Through action, we move decisively. Through will, we endure unshakably. The triad transforms every difficulty into a stepping stone, every setback into a lesson, and every trial into a triumph. Holiday leaves the reader with a stirring challenge. Life will test you, repeatedly and mercilessly. But within each test lies an opportunity for greatness. Those who cultivate perception, take deliberate action, and harness their will do not merely survive, they flourish. They turn trials into triumphs and leave a legacy of resilience and strength that inspires generations. Final takeaway: the timeless art of turning trials into triumph. Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way is more than a book. It is a manual for life, written in the timeless wisdom of the Stoics and illuminated by the examples of history's greatest figures. It teaches us that perception shapes our reality. Clear vision turns obstacles into opportunities. Action converts clarity into progress. Bold, persistent, and creative movement brings results. Will sustains us through what we cannot control. Inner resilience transforms adversity into growth and triumph. In the end, Holiday's message is electrifying yet simple. The obstacle is never the enemy. It is the path itself, the teacher, and the hidden engine of success. Thanks for listening to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries.